Five Nights at Freddy's success has been built off of a backbone of lore and theorizing working in tandem to support the series. Throughout the games, little breadcrumbs have been sprinkled throughout, hinting at larger details hidden behind the upfront story. And many of the mysteries have never been solved. But what if you had a major character that was mostly comprised of theorizing? One who was so important to the lore, and yet everything was so vague that it led to corkboards loaded with pins and laced with red threads that often passed by, but never ended on a singular point. I'm talking about Golden Freddy, one of the most recognizable Fnaf characters, and one who pretty much kicked off the lore hunting that helped the brand get as big as it is. But today, we're not actually going to decode the mystery that is Golden Freddy. Oh no. Instead, we're going to look back and go through every one of their appearances and see if it's true. If Golden Freddy was the alpha and omega of secrets, the backbone of Bear. But before we really begin, who is Golden Freddy? Golden Freddy, also known and labeled as Yellow Bear, is a yellowed bear who greatly resembles Freddy. He has darkened eyes with the faintest dots of light in them, a black hat and bow tie matching Freddy's, and is holding a microphone. He is known for his slumped posture and eyeless jump scares, frozen still jump scares, and is one of the first secret animatronics introduced in Fnaf. Now that might be hard to believe since Golden Freddy is hardly a secret, but originally he was little more than an Easter egg, one who slowly got expanded on as time went on. But let's begin at the beginning. Golden Freddy's first appearance is in Fnaf 1, as expected. Like I said, he's technically not a traditional animatronic, as he doesn't have a stage. He's not supposed to be there. He might not even be there. If you're looking at the 2B camera, you'll see a poster on the wall, and rarely it'll be replaced by a yellow version of Freddy, and you'll hear a child laughing. Popping back into the office, Golden Freddy will be waiting for you, slumped in front of the desk. You'll see flashes of eyes, Freddy's, "It's me," will flicker across the screen, and you have a short amount of time to pull up the monitor or you're jump scared. But it's unique. Not an animatronic popping up in your face, but it's just his face, eyeless, staring right into yours. Needless to say, even without knowing anything about Golden Freddy, he instantly struck a chord due to his overwhelmingly paranormal nature, being more of a murderous hallucination than an actual animatronic. To the point where he isn't even in the custom night. I mean, he might appear in the night, but you can't change his difficulty. It's as though the game itself doesn't even acknowledge that he exists. In fact, the only place it does, truly, is the newspaper Easter eggs that can tell the story behind Freddy's dark past. The newspapers say that 5 children went missing at Freddy's and alludes to their bodies being hidden in the suits, meaning that there is an extra suit beyond the 4 bandmates, aka Golden Freddy. And while the animatronics are suggested to be haunted through how they act, Golden Freddy is the one who all but confirms that this is the case. For he is either a haunted suit or some sort of apparition. It also says whoever did this used a suit of the company mascot. And while now we know that that's Spring Bonnie, it's possible that when Fnaf 1 was being made, back when there wasn't planned sequels, back when it said they caught the employee who did it, that Golden Freddy was the suit the killer wore. Or was supposed to be. And though he isn't now, Golden Freddy's connection with the suit the killer wore will still remain important later on. But that's most of Golden Freddy's importance in Fnaf 1, and going forward his role will only balloon with every further installment. Fnaf 2 is when we get the full look at the many deaths at Freddy's, and learn how the animatronics became possessed. We also learn about the murderer himself, and get a better look at Golden Freddy's role. Let's start with the story. It is revealed that it was a new character known as the Puppet, or the Marionette, who brought the animatronics to life using the bodies and souls of the 5 murdered children at Freddy's. It gives the gift to life to 4 in the Give Gift Give Life minigame. But in the last second, we see a secret 5th child, and then we are treated to a Golden Freddy jump scare. This confirms our earlier suspicions. The yellow bear suit was the resting place of the 5th child, and is haunted by their restless spirit. We also see it in another minigame, the Save Them minigame. While Freddy follows after the puppet, he may pass by Golden Freddy's slouched body, backing up that he isn't just a hallucination, but a real physical being. Golden Freddy also appears as a major threat, more so than he was in the first game, though now only appearing in the last and custom nights. He will pop up in the office corner and you have to put on the Freddy mask to make him go away. Or he may appear as, I kid you not, a giant floating head in the hallway. Okay, this might be a hallucination, but it can still kill you. Flashing Golden Freddy with the light won't help. In fact, it will kill you immediately. The head can be banished by pulling up the monitor and not staring at it too long. But this won't work if he's slumped. It's a little more complicated than before. And unlike before, Golden Freddy isn't an optional threat that you may stir up by looking at some old posters. He is a real threat, and even can have his difficulty changed in Custom Night, and is featured in various modes, such as the titular Golden Freddy preset. Another note of interest is that Golden Freddy's design has changed, except for his quick appearance in the Night 3 minigame, where he is shown looking how he did in Fnaf 1, standing in front of a seemingly possessed Freddy, just like the puppet was in the night previous. Like the original Golden's design matched Freddy's, Fnaf 2's Withered Golden matches Withered Freddy, with his face and body shape. You can't see the little dots in his eyes anymore, but there is some exposed wiring around his shoulders and coming out of his right or left eye. He's also missing his left ear. Whether this is just a design update or a sign that the ghostly bear physically changes its appearance to match the nearest Freddy, making it even less tangible, is unclear. Frankly, it's probably just an updated design. Now, while this is a bigger expansion to his character and backstory, Golden Freddy is no longer the sole spooky or mysterious animatronic. With the introduction of the puppet as the one who brought the others to life, and with it taking over the unique mechanic and inability to be toggled in the custom night, Golden Freddy's here, but it's not as big of a deal. And Fnaf 3 follows a similar trend, as Golden Freddy returns in a new form. Kind of. In Fnaf 3, we confront the Purple Man, the murderer of the children, in his final foul form he took when he was trapped inside of his own suit. Spring Bonnie, a yellow gold version of Bonnie. Well, not anymore. Green with decay and greased with corpse wax from his rotten body inside, this is now Springtrap, and he's no less dangerous than he was all those years ago. Except he's hunting larger prey now. But he is not alone. With him comes an army of burned and charred phantoms, and wouldn't you know it, but one of these is Golden Freddy. But you wouldn't know it because he is named Phantom Freddy. But one look at his ear shows that he's technically a Golden Freddy variant, or perhaps a mix of both. Finding out Phantom Golden Freddy technically exists is one of those I'll be darned moments for sure, though admittedly with the name and the lack of the previous golden attributes, he's barely the yellow bear. He's more the green ash-stained bear. And in later games, Freddy's design is updated to be much more like the original Freddy, therefore writing out his golden roots entirely. But he's not the only golden bear who we see in the game. In fact, he's not a golden bear at all. Hidden in the minigames, we get the brief image of two yellow or golden figures standing on a stage. One is clearly Spring Bonnie, but who is the other? We're about to find out very soon. But that is not yet the Golden Freddy we know. The Golden Freddy we know has a different fate, as shown in the Happiest Day minigame. The Happiest Day minigame involves a child soul wearing a puppet mask heading into a party with other children and other grayed-out ghost children. It arrives at a table with the others, where a child without a mask stands. The puppet brings it a cake, and the child's eyes open. It suddenly gains a Golden Freddy mask, before all the children disappear, with their masks falling to the floor, the colored balloons above them drifting away and signaling their souls moving on. There are two ending screens with the animatronics' heads sitting in a pile. In the bad ending, their eyes are lit, showing that there's still life in them, and Golden Freddy's head can be seen hidden behind them. But in the good ending, their lights have dimmed, signaling that they have all moved on. But, as this is only the beginning of Golden's story, assume that this happily ever after has an unexpected ending. Because this is the part where he truly becomes an important character. Fnaf 4 entails the story of a crying child who is ignored by his parents, bullied by his brother, scared of the animatronics, and facing his rapidly approaching death, when all of it culminates at his own party, at the hands of his bullies, and at the mouth of Fredbear. This is where we are properly introduced to Spring Bonnie's counterpart, the one who stood on stage alongside him, Fredbear, the head mascot of Fredbear's Family Diner, the earliest version of Freddy's and the earliest version of Freddy. While all of Fredbear's details aren't introduced in this game, we learn later that Fredbear had his own Springlock suit, a suit that doubles between wearable suit and animatronic depending on what mode it's in. We also don't see Fredbear in full. We see him in the minigame, but not what he might have looked like in real life. The closest we get is with Nightmare Fredbear. See, the crying child is haunted by nightmares, grotesque versions of the animatronics and people he fears. He spends hours warding them off with his flashlight indoors, but they keep coming back to his bedroom. Hideous creatures with pointed metal claws and razor-sharp teeth. And nowhere are these teeth bigger than with the supreme threat that is Nightmare Fredbear. Nightmare Fredbear is the largest nightmare, not counting Marionette's height, but definitely the girthiness. He has a golden brown body with darker accents and wears a purple hat and bow tie with 2 black buttons on its belly, which actually resembles Spring Bonnie and Springtrap's seldomly noticed buttons. He has long metal claws and a row of teeth stretched across his stomach, like a second mouth, though we never see it in use. Then is his head, his broad, square, hamburger-like double-deckered head, with beady red eyes and an enormous mouth of teeth. A faint red hue stains the base around his gums, evidence of a recent bite and the signal for what he truly is. Nightmare Fredbear isn't just the crying child's perception of Fredbear alone, but a physical embodiment of the incident, the bite, where his brother and the 3 bully friends shoved his head into Fredbear's mouth and it crushed him under its teeth. From the bullies' laughter going still, it's clear that they didn't intend for this to happen, and from the Easter eggs, medicine on the nightstand, an IV bag, a vase of flowers, and the eventual flatline, the child did not survive. And it seemed, at least at that point, that all these nights weren't just nightmares, but the last gasps of a dying child, a brain severely damaged struggling to make sense of what happened by projecting this horrific creature and trying to fight it off. But you can't fight off what already happened. Maybe that's why Fredbear's laugh sounds so much like crying. But Nightmare Fredbear is relentless. He takes over everything. While Nightmare Freddy stays on the bed and appears if his frettles aren't kept at bay, and Nightmare Chica and Nightmare Bonnie come down the halls, and Nightmare Foxy stays in the closet unless he's kept in check by regular check-ins, well, once he gets into the room, when Nightmare Fredbear enters the scene, he replaces all of them. He is waiting on the bed, his enormous head waiting for a chance to strike. He is coming down the hallways on either side. He is in the closet waiting for you to stop looking so he can creep out. He is everywhere and all-consuming. Literally. But confronting and defeating him is the only way to reach closure. He appears on night 5 as the only adversary, and then on night 6 replacing the Nightmare animatronics halfway through. On night 7, instead of Nightmare Fredbear appearing halfway through, he is replaced with his ghastly doppelganger, simply known as Nightmare. He is a shadowy, distorted version of Nightmare Fredbear, a partially translucent black bear with yellow accents, such as a bow tie and a top hat. When you turn the contrast up, you can see a good chunk of his endoskeleton through him. When it comes to Fnaf 4, there doesn't seem to be too much of a difference between the 2 bears, and Nightmare himself isn't even nearly as important as Nightmare Fredbear, not affecting the story at all. He's just a harder version of him, but he will return later, as will Nightmare Fredbear. But for now, like I said, Nightmare Fredbear is the embodiment of the bite. Maybe not literally, but certainly figuratively. What makes this all the more devastating is that Fredbear isn't just the face of the crying child's death, it's also the face of his only friend, a yellow plush bear, likely based off of Fredbear, referred to by the community as Psychic Friend Fredbear. Now, I didn't mention him before, but he is really the crying child's sole companion, a teddy bear that inexplicably follows the child wherever he goes, watching him from atop clocks and from storm drains, sometimes with glowing eyes that look rather similar to the haunted animatronics that we've seen in the past. He's a frequent companion. Sometimes he encourages the crying child, sometimes he warns him that his brother is up to mischief. And after the bite is dealt, when the crying child is left fading into the dark, his friend assures him that he's still there, and that he's going to put him back together. But what does he mean? Well, we'll get back to that very shortly. But the important part is that this limp doll greatly resembles Golden Freddy, as does Fredbear himself. Fredbear and Golden Freddy are separate, but are so intrinsically linked and recognized together that from now on, they will melt into the same role, or a hinted connection in quite a few games, something that will hit a crescendo in Ultimate Custom Night, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. But nowhere is that clearer than Fnaf World, an RPG where you can play as many Fnaf animatronics. Fredbear and Golden Freddy are both unlockable and playable characters in Fnaf World, and funny enough, they are virtually identical, save the fact that Golden Freddy is slumped down with a light in his eyes and has a black bow tie and hat while Fredbear has a purple one. We'll start with Fredbear. His tagline is, "Where it all started," referencing Fredbear's family diner. He is one of the randomly unlockable characters, but is extremely rare, both because he is quite powerful and because he was the second to last unlockable character until the Halloween update added more powerful characters. To put it in perspective, as far as I'm aware, many of the low-tier characters like the second and third bracket can be found while you're just wandering around the world. They'll suddenly spawn and you'll fight them, and if you win, you get them. However, Fredbear and many of the higher tier characters can only be found by circling around the funhouse area. And it will take you a while. But Fredbear's still pretty tough. Having the moves Megabyte, which causes a lot of damage to all enemies, Regen Song, which heals everyone, and Mimic Ball, which creates the Mimic Ball, who then mimics the attacks of others in the party until it disappears. No, not related to the Mimic himself, as far as we're aware. Funny enough, but there's a secret ending that you can get if you talk to Fredbear with Fredbear leading the party, upon which both Fredbears will start to glitch out. The screen will read, "The same Fredbear can't occupy the same space at the same time." Then they'll blow up, and you get a trophy of a blown up Fredbear. Neat! The last point of interest being Fredbear's appearance in the minigame Foxy Fighters in the Halloween update, during which Foxy, Toy Chica, Nightmare Chica, JJ, and Fredbear all have actual voice lines.
"What's this, a space shooter? Holy crap, is that my voice? Voice acting? No! He's gone too far this time! You need to shut this game down!"
Fredbear plays the role of Peppy Hare, again playing the role of the would-be guide instructing you on what to do.
"Do a barrel roll!" "Sorry, I'm not sure what came over me."
Nothing too surprising considering his role in Fnaf World. But Fredbear is, as far as I'm aware, the first Fnaf character to swear, though it's sort of low on the swear tier. And that mostly covers the yellow bear. Let's switch to the other one. Golden Freddy's tagline is, "It's me." Fitting. He is in the third level down, meaning he's sort of middle grade strength-wise and isn't too difficult to unlock, being a little more common. He has 3 moves, Jump Scare, which stuns, Haunting, which can freeze, and Rainy Day 2, which is the only one that directly inflicts damage while also lowering defense. This makes Golden Freddy a pretty good character early on, but likely to be replaced by better animatronics further in, such as Nightmare Fredbear or Nightmare, who are also in the game and are both some of the best characters in the game, or were before the Halloween update. Nightmare Fredbear's tagline is, "Getting down to business." If there's a reference here, it's been completely lost on me. He has 3 powerful attacks, Mega Bite, just like Fredbear, Toxic Bite 2, which also poisons, and Frettles, which causes a bunch of Frettles to run through and damage the enemies. Funny enough, but Fredbear used to have the move Bad Pizza before it was replaced by the Frettles. I'm not sure if any other characters had more move changes, but I don't think so. Nightmare's tagline is, "This is why you wake up." See, that's how you do it, Nightmare. Short, sweet, to the point, and makes a point. Nightmare has Megabyte and Toxic Bite 2 too, but instead of Freddles, he has Rainy Day 2 like Golden Freddy, meaning that not only are he and Nightmare Fredbear just about the same, but Fredbear, Golden Freddy, Nightmare Fredbear, and Fredbear all have some overlap in their moveset, a small but noticeable connection between the four. And that covers those characters' movesets. But what is the story of Fnaf World, the more important part? So in Fnaf World we have two storylines. We have the one story of Freddy and friends trying to stop the evil and glitches in their fantastical world, and a secondary story of spirits laying the groundwork to stop the Purple Man, using layers inside of their glitchy code to change the outside world. Basically, Fnaf World is a sort of purgatory for the children's souls, and while at face value everything seems cutesy and cartoony, once you peel back the layers you see the ghostly interior and how it impacts the events of Fnaf 3. And both storylines hinge on Fredbear. Fredbear is the host and would-be guide who tells you where to go and what to do. The bear is kindly and a little goofy, playing his role pretty straight. Until he doesn't. If you wait too long on his text boxes, he's replaced with a blocky bear figure who is a lot more direct, and reveals the ruse immediately, giving you the task to leave breadcrumbs, which actually means activating a set of tiny mini-games to lay the groundwork for the puzzles in FNAF 3, the ones to activate the good ending. Now, to keep all of this brief, I'll stick to Fredbear himself instead of delving further into the FNAF 3 connection. The important part is that he is aware and leading these trapped souls to further stop the corruption from their still surviving murderer. And wouldn't you know it, but the blocky, real version of Fredbear looks an awful lot like Psychic Friend Fredbear. And we never know who we play as in FNAF World. We know we control the characters, but whether we're cycling through a bunch of dead kids or just one is uncertain. But I suppose it being the crying child was a possibility at the time. Now, originally FNAF 4 was going to be the end of FNAF, and if that's the case, the most blatant read here is that Psychic Friend Fredbear was leading the crying child to help stop the Purple Man through FNAF World. Or just all the ghost children. It seems simple enough. All the pieces align, and those pieces lasted for about 5 seconds. Because in comes FNAF 5's sister location, and suddenly everything we know is thrown out the window. In Sister Location, we go into the depths of the old Afton facility and learn the identity of the Purple Man, William Afton. Seeing what monsters he created and what was left behind, and one of these involves a secret private office where you may find yourself if you go for the alternate ending. So, you remember when I mentioned Psychic Friend Fredbear, the friend of the crying child who is heavily hinted to be the Fredbear in FNAF World and its connection to FNAF 3, and all that jazz I just covered and tied up all neatly? Well, Sister Location makes a very bold choice in following those connections with a shocking revelation, one that to this day has not been fully explained, but suddenly casts doubt on the friendliness of that plush toy. In the Sister Location private office, we can find camera monitors, and if we type in 1983, the images on the screen will reveal the bedroom we play in during FNAF 4. We also learn in a map screen that it and the other locations in the FNAF 4 minigames, the house and the restaurant, are observation rooms. Even Fun with Plush Trap's hallway is there. We can also see that the rooms that we spend our nights fighting off the nightmares in are real, and there's square marks signaling that there's animatronics in them, meaning that, funny enough, those nightmares too are real animatronics. It wasn't just some kid's twisted dream. This did happen. And guess who else is here? A familiar plush bear slumped beside the monitors with a radio resting on it. Suddenly the plush appearing everywhere, mounted like a camera in every room, sometimes with eyes aglow and sometimes not, is looking a little suspicious, isn't he? Now down here with a radio to speak through, in Afton's private room, a private room where employees can't easily get to and who basically get dragged out by a crew and fired if they just so happen to make their way into there. So the options are this. Psychic Friend Fredbear was real and was one of the ghost children reaching out and helping the crying child. Or he wasn't. He was just a sick man playing games with a suffering child. William Afton doing what he does best. Some really twisted stuff for no particular reason. And why it appears in Fnaf World? Well, that's a real friend taking the image that our character remembers, perhaps. Or a ghost hallucination. Or if Fnaf World's initial reception was negative, maybe it doesn't exist at all anymore in the lore. All we know is that suddenly psychic friend Fredbear's empty comments of, "he hates you," and nudging the crying child to go find his brother and get scared are no longer as innocuous as they once seemed. And it also throws the whole built-upon story of Fnaf World through a loop as well. Especially since, as we will see going forward, the good ending they were hoping to achieve might have not been reached. But that's where the mystery of psychic friend Fredbear comes to a halt. Following this point, he is never shown or mentioned again. But there is another possible Golden Freddy connection hidden down in the depths of Circus Baby's rentals, and that is Yenndo. Yenndo is an Easter egg and later reoccurring character who has little explanation. He is an endoskeleton built like the Funtimes, greatly resembling Funtime Freddy's exposed Endo except with yellow eyes. You may see him on night 3 when going through the Funtime auditorium and flashing your beacon, but it is rare, quick, and then he's gone. The custom night is when things get interesting, as he returns with some similar mechanics. And that is similar to Golden Freddy. He will suddenly appear in the office and you have to check the monitor quickly to get him to back out. Just like the Golden Bear. And with that, we have to wonder what the connection is. Well, we know that Afton had an observation room that looked like the diner the crying child entered. We know from the map that there were 2 animatronics stationed there, as the squares stand in for the animatronics, even showing where Funtime Freddy is currently standing. Those would be Fredbear and Spring Bonnie. We know Fredbear and Golden Freddy have something of a connection, though unknown for now. We know Golden Freddy is labeled as the Yellow Bear in the code, and we know Yenndo is the Yellow Endo. And we also know that Fredbear's eyes in FNAF 4 are a golden brownish yellow, and Yendo's are about the same, assuming that the minigame colors are a little more flat. Keeping this in mind, it is very likely but unconfirmed that Yenndo is the endoskeleton of the Fredbear animatronic kept in the observation room that looks like the diner, and possibly the one that bit the crying child, if not a reconstruction made afterwards. And it makes you wonder, with how slumped and slouched Golden Freddy is, could he be the suit of Fredbear, and Yenndo be the gutted innards? Not only would this open up a whole new implication for Golden Freddy, but this would suddenly make the story surrounding the crying child's death even more grim, as now the bear he was shoved into would have been a Funtime, an animatronic built specifically to kill children, though usually not so publicly. But with the revelation surrounding psychic friend Fredbear fresh in mind, yeah, it's starting to look like something very vile was going on behind the scenes in FNAF 4, but unfortunately we don't have many more details. Except one, and it comes in Ultimate Custom Night. So in Pizzeria Simulator, Henry and his hired lackey get together all of the remaining loose ends, Afton the puppet baby and the remains of the Funtime's persona, and burns them, stopping Freddy's reign of terror for a few years until they rebranded. But it gave a short window of peace. And in Ultimate Custom Night, we are set into the shoes of presumably Afton, as he is trapped in the afterlife being tortured by the souls he killed. Henry was hoping he'd go straight to hell, but that did not happen, as many of the animatronics allude to a new character who is now keeping Afton and not letting him move on, a character known as the one you shouldn't have killed.
I have seen him, the one you shouldn't have killed.
He's here and always watching. The one you shouldn't have killed. Greetings from the fire, and from the one you should not have killed.
This is backed up in a secret minigame featuring a character named Old Man Consequences. Now, Old Man Consequences initially appeared in FNAF World in a secret ending, but wasn't important. You get stuck at his lake and you can fall through the end. But in Ultimate Custom Night, if you venture to the Red Lake through the Old Man Consequences secret minigame, he implores us represented by a bear, to leave the demon to his demons, that there is nothing left. And in the background we can hear distorted screams. And yes, if you change the pitch, they are screams. Because of this, the bear we are playing as cannot be Afton, and is quite possibly the one you shouldn't have killed, because they are actively keeping Afton here to torture, while Old Man Consequences suggest that they just let it go. This doesn't seem important, but it'll all come back later. For the meantime, Golden Freddy, who looks like his Fnaf 2 version, Nightmare Fredbear, and Nightmare all return as animatronics you can go up against. Golden Freddy appears in the office and you have to flip up the monitor to get him to leave. Set at 20, he'll be popping up constantly. Believe me, I figured that out trying to get footage. If he jump scares you, he has a similar still screen of his face staring out at the darkness, but unlike many other animatronics, no new voice lines. Unlike Nightmare Fredbear and Nightmare, who are basically tag team animatronics even though they're separated. Nightmare Fredbear comes in the left door and Nightmare comes in the right, and you can only see their red beady eyes when they're in the doorway. Nightmare Fredbear also has a crying sound cue that sounds like his Fnaf 4 audio. And then we get into the voices. Nightmare Fredbear and Nightmare's voices are startlingly different, despite how much they share with one another. Nightmare Fredbear has a two-tone voice that sounds monstrous with a secondary child's voice behind it. His lines tie directly with Fnaf 4, quoting psychic friend Fredbear about friends and putting back together.
We know who our friends are, and you are not one of them. Let me put you back together and take you apart all over again.
And even allusions to illusions, which might reference the complicated situation with Sister Location's observation room bears.
This time, there is more than an illusion to fear.
Nightmare, on the other hand, his are simply aggressive and cruel.
I am your wickedness, made of flesh.
And pretty gross.
I will vomit you back to relieve your horror.
Two of his lines were even used later for Springtrap and Fnaf AR.
I am here to claim what is left of you.
I am here to claim what is left of you.
You will not be spared. You will not be saved.
You will not be spared. You will not be saved. Let's see how many times you can be pulled apart and put back together again.
Which adds an extra connection between them, strangely enough. But there's also one more secret animatronic, and you have to go through hoops to catch a glimpse of him. Set Golden Freddy to 1. Start the night, collect 10 Faz tokens, and then buy the death coin in the prize counter. Return to the office. You'll know you're on the right track if there's now a hat beside the microphone on the right side of your office table. Now, you wait, regularly flipping up your monitor to try to coax him in, and so that you can fix the ventilation. Keep your mouse close to the upper left of the screen when the monitor drops, right by the death coin. If you're lucky, Golden Freddy will appear, though I have had instances where he just didn't appear for an entire night. Then you use the death coin. You will be jump scared, but it's different. The bear looks like Fnaf 1 Golden Freddy, but with a purple bow tie and hat. This is Fredbear, and it has been confirmed in files and the like. This is Fredbear. And this is pretty much the confirmation we need to say that yes, Golden Freddy is Fredbear. We're not sure if he's the exact same model, or the one at the diner, or the one that worked with Yenndo, or where he originated from, but yes, Golden Freddy, at least Fnaf 1's Golden Freddy, is absolutely some variation of Fredbear. Though you probably figured that out already. The Golden Bear is the Golden Bear? Well, I am just shocked. I am utterly bamboozled. But yes, this is a pretty big confirmation, and might answer some other questions as well. Like, why Golden Freddy wasn't one of the animatronics on stage? Why he acts like a slumped suit? Where his endoskeleton, or a endoskeleton, could have gone? And most importantly, why Fredbear and Golden Freddy were twins in FNAF World? Okay, even more importantly, why Golden Freddy seems to hold so much importance. He isn't just a recolored Freddy, he's the original Freddy. He is the Fredbear. He's the Big Papa Bear himself. He's a real big deal. Fredbear has 3 lines that are super distorted, but some folks have decoded what they think they mean. I heard they were confirmed somewhere, but as far as I'm aware, they weren't, so take them with a grain of salt. Disturbingly enough, his one about finding a suit could be from someone looking for a suit to put a soul in, or a mimic of something Afton said, knowing what happened to the children. But with that, we've covered the characters. Except for one, the one you shouldn't have killed. Like I said, the one you shouldn't have killed is an angry soul keeping the others there and forcing them to continue hunting Afton, but also keeping Afton there, not allowing him or them to move on.
He tried to release you. He tried to release us. But I'm not gonna let that happen. I will hold you here. I will keep you here. No matter how many times they burn us.
But this doesn't just hurt him, it hurts the others too. They seem to be aware, but they can't escape. And this one, the one you shouldn't have killed, is so filled with anger and resentment that they will not let go. So who is the one you shouldn't have killed? Well, we see them for ourselves at the end of the game. If you complete Ultimate Custom Night with every single animatronic cranked up all the way, maxing all of the characters, beating the insanity in one fell swoop without dying, you will get the last secret cutscene. Up until that point, the cutscenes involved goofy Fnaf spin-offs such as TOYSHK's high school years and the Bear of Vengeance, but in the last cutscene is different. It's Golden Freddy, thrashing in a pitch-black void, rising as the camera pans away and grows dark. A music track named Void playing in the background as the bear disappears. No further explanation. Golden Freddy looks distressed. There's no peace, no victory here, no rest. The eyes are still alit. It is still alive, and it is angry. Golden Freddy is the one you shouldn't have killed. That much is clear. The angry spirit, who has possibly been pulling the strings throughout the series, is not only still stuck in place, but is still holding the others back with it. Maybe it has since the beginning. And I have heard recently that this has been disputed. But, knowing what we do about Golden Freddy and Fredbear, knowing how throughout the games he is the one pulling strings behind the scene, he truly is the real puppet master here. He is the one directing the souls. He is the one in charge of Fazbear Hills, Animatronica, whatever you call it. He is the one who is always there and always watching. He definitely has the means. So I'm convinced. Who is the one you shouldn't have killed? It's me. That is, it's Golden Freddy. Or at least I'm pretty sure it is. But who is the kid possessing Golden Freddy? Well, that's a very loaded question. Pretty much every time a dead kid gets added to the franchise, they go through a period of possibly being the one you shouldn't have killed. And unfortunately for everyone involved, every instance of a confirmation has been more malleable than a pound of Play-Doh, and unfortunately just as confirmed to be Golden Freddy. Now, going through the various identities of Golden Freddy in full and debating who is the most likely candidate could make up its own video with all of the possibilities, evidence, etc. So what I'm going to do is keep this rather brief and stick to what we know in concrete. And I might revisit the more theoretical aspects later in a different video. So here are the children who have been connected with Golden Freddy in the past and the ones believed to be possessing it. First up, Cassidy. The most often believed soul possessing Golden Freddy is a character named Cassidy. Cassidy is an interesting character, as most of what we know about her comes through hints in the Ultimate Guide, despite the fact that she's actually established in the novel trilogy as the girl who possessed Bonnie. Though since Bonnie is possessed by someone else in the games, assumedly Jeremy, it's possible that Cassidy still exists as and is in Golden Freddy, but most of the evidence surrounding her links back to hints in this book, such as the implication that she might be this little girl with black pigtails, seemingly referencing the FNAF 3 Happiest Day, and the fact that she has long black hair in the fourth closet. She is also referenced in Security Breach, but there is a big caveat. In Security Breach, the Golden Princess who accidentally unleashes the Purple Rabbit anomaly and later frees Vanessa in Princess Quest, the arcade machine, is referenced as Cassidy in the files, and is in connection with this old Red King, who looks like and is labeled in some files as Old Man Consequences. So, it seems like a clear-cut case. Except, it recently came out that Scott hadn't exactly given Steelwool all the details on what to put in the game. He had been, by his own admission, vague about the story while trying to steer them, which led to miscommunications. Cassidy was likely too a miscommunication, and what hints to this is the fact that Cassidy's name in the files was removed in later patches. There's not much reason to remove this for no reason. There's no reason to remove a name with no reason, so it's reasonable to assume that there was a reason to remove the name. And that reason is either Scott asked, or the name was just like a placeholder, and now that people were going in the files, they removed it because they didn't want it to be seen as a confirmation, as that would be messy. So the truth about Cassidy is that we don't really know much, but if you asked someone who was possessing Golden Freddy, odds are Cassidy would be the first name that tips the tongue. Next is the Crying Child. Now this one seems a lot more cut and dry considering the Crying Child's connection with Fredbear and Golden Freddy, psychic friend Fredbear, the crying throughout the series, though the ghost kids were crying even before the Crying Child showed up. There's even a child who looks like him in the fourth closet as one of the missing and killed children as well, and he is never named. Crying Child is a very likely candidate for being Golden Freddy, but there's one issue that leads to him not being a likely candidate for the one you shouldn't have killed. Firstly, Crying Child would have possessed Golden Freddy before the missing children incident occurred, despite the fact that 5 kids went missing, so another child must have also been in Golden Freddy. But the name, the one you shouldn't have killed, indicates that Afton killed whoever they are. But while Afton's dirty hands were likely involved with the Crying Child's death, it wasn't he who killed him. And what's the likelihood of this dead kid knowing that it was actually him if he was so angry? Also, if the Crying Child is this majorly important character, why has he been largely pushed to the background? There certainly could have been a hint or suggestion here or there, right? The only real hint originated from Fnaf 4, but by sister location, major parts of Fnaf 4's story were thrown into question. So, is he or isn't he? Now, as you know, I'm a believer that the Crying Child was the puppet before the story went over major overhauls to align closer with the books and the book characters. Save him. 2 bytes? Source code says 87? TV says 83? The toys lasted 4 years but were only around for a week? The final chapter. 4 games, 1 story. The whole story is here, except for some very important details like Henry. The source of the backstory behind every major character. But, that being said, I do think that it's very possible that the Crying Child is now currently Golden Freddy. That would actually make a lot of sense. Even the fact that there would be 2 kids inside of Golden Freddy since the bite happened and then later a kid was shoved in there kind of adds up with this possibility. But I can't say that the Crying Child is the one you shouldn't have killed, knowing what we know about his death and his behavior. He doesn't strike me as a rage-filled child in comparison to his deranged plush toy buddy. And also, there comes the confusion of psychic friend Fredbear apparently not being possessed by anyone connected with Freddy, but then still keeping the Fredbear persona when they get into Fnaf World. It's a thinker, but still very possible. Just as long as you don't think too hard. On to the next candidate. Andrew. Andrew is pretty much the one you shouldn't have killed of the Fazbear Frights book series. He is an angry soul who was murdered by Afton and then holds him and tortures him after a fire. He even possesses a bunch of toys and animatronics in a warehouse and spreads his anger, or agony, through them, being the source of all the hauntings throughout the series until Eleanor appears and reveals that she was behind a bunch of them too. So, case closed, yes? But the issue is, in the books we get a lot of characters who stand in for other characters. Later, we will be discussing a character named Michael who is the Golden Freddy of the Silver Eyes trilogy, but not in the games. With Andrew never being mentioned in the games, except for a masked character in FNAF 3's Happiest Day minigame who either Andrew is based off of or might have became Happy Frog, it's a little complicated there. He's never been confirmed to be a game character, so it could be that he's just a character representing the one you shouldn't have killed. However, Andrew's shtick of possessing the Stitch Wraith animatronics alongside Jake led to a very popular theory involving Golden Freddy, one that actually connects with something I mentioned with the Crying Child just moments ago. This is part of what led to the theory that there were 2 kids possessing Golden Freddy. However, this theory that there were 2 kids actually predates the Fazbear Frights books and was usually a way to explain how Cassidy and the Crying Child were both Golden Freddy. The Stitch Wraith popping up later simply validated those feelings and made him more popular. But like most things in FNAF, there's no confirmation. The closest evidence would be the existence of Nightmare Fredbear and Nightmare being counterparts, but as Nightmare's brief importance was rapidly replaced by Nightmarian, it's unclear to know if that was the initial intention. Though if it was, it would have to concrete confirm that Fredbear and Golden Freddy are truly one and the same. Now, before I continue on, do you remember a while back when I made a video on the books? And I had my friend TJ from TJ's radio show chiming in and discussing the books with me? Well, take it away.
Yes, last time I was in a video, I was really pushing the idea that Frights and Tales were in the game timeline, because I felt that's where most of the evidence lied, yeah. And then Secret of the Mimic came out. I still believe Andrew is the one he should not have killed in the games, but yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if, after this video, Scott confirms otherwise again. He's just been waiting for me to talk about a theory again. Just to clarify, not everyone who believes that Andrew is the one he should not have killed believes he's Golden Freddy. The main reasons lots of people believe that Andrew is the one he should not have killed in the games is because of the fact that in UCN the spirit is called a he, and this probably isn't about the suit, since, we can see the one he should not have killed spirit itself, the face.
Glad to have you back, and hope we get to do another video soon. Alright, and so next up, the newest kid up to bat as Golden Freddy is David from Secret of the Mimic, a child wrapped up in a ton of theorizing, from him being the White Tiger, to a robot duplicate of him being the Crying Child or Gregory. However, there is a reason people think he's Golden Freddy, other than the fact that he's very Crying Child coded. And that's because the White Tiger, who seems to be very haunted and is acting a lot like Golden Freddy, is seemingly possessed by him. White Tiger pops around and in and out of existence with a slumped posture, barely standing, and Golden Freddy's trademark head tilt. Yes, it counts. His mechanics also act a lot like Golden Freddy's could have in a free roam space. Don't stare too long, keep moving, and watch for his pop-ins. And because of this, it has been believed that David and the White Tiger may eventually become the one you shouldn't have killed and Golden Freddy. The only problem is that David died in MCM, Murray's Costume Manor, miles away from the nearest Fredbears, and certainly a few years before the event of the Crying Child's bite. MCM is working on stuff for Fredbear's Family Diner, yes, but there's still a pretty big leap you have to make those two characters become the same one. But that's as far as we should go with David right now. Now, there is also the Silver Eyes Golden Freddy and Golden Freddy in the movie, but I will cover them when I reach their story and movie respectively. When it comes to theorizing about the one you shouldn't have killed, they're not usually factored into the discussion since those are separate continuities. But yeah, that's the one you shouldn't have killed, and the reason why I was so avoidant to talk about Golden Freddy. Because he's steeped in a lot of theorizing, and the topic of which dead kid he is became one of the biggest talking points in Fnaf. Frankly, I think he's like Schrodinger's cat in a way, if I pronounce that right. The idea isn't that he could or couldn't be anyone, but that he's pretty much all or nothing until you open the box and see what's inside. Of course, the point of the experiment was less about the actual cat and instead about the merit of comparing quantum physics to a cat, something I continue by bringing up quantum physics to talk about Five Nights at Freddy's. But let me tell you, of all the FNAF theories to get debated enough to generate heat, it's involving this bear. But it's time to move along, because despite the finality as seen with Golden Freddy slipping into the void, it's never really the end. And it's time to move on to the next step. Help Wanted is where the second era of FNAF kicked off, and in a shocking twist of fate, Golden Freddy was all but banished from the VR version of FNAF 1 and 2, as shown in Help Wanted. Likely because due to the separated monitor that you could no longer pull up, his mechanics would no longer function. But Nightmare Fredbear makes a glorious comeback. In the 4th Night Terrors level, you face off against Nightmare Fredbear trying to get into your bedroom in a very similar way to FNAF 4. But now you see him moving in real time, and you get a real feel for his size. There's not too much to say about him here that we didn't already cover in FNAF 4, but it is an excellent recreation of him. And of all the nightmares to come back directly and be featured in the game, he is the one that gives the best example of the FNAF 4 experience. So, really a great showing. Now let's hustle on to the next actual appearance of Golden Freddy, FNAF AR Special Delivery. Golden Freddy returns properly in FNAF AR, the FNAF mobile game, as what has to be the most infuriating character introduced, full stop. His mechanics seem simple enough, but my god, they did not work when it came to Fnaf AR, a game that tended to crash quite a bit, at least for me. See, Golden Freddy didn't have one mechanic, he had 5, and 3 of them would appear in every encounter. Basically, Animatronic comes to your house, they appear on your screen, and you deal with them in one of numerous ways. Usually they mock charge you, and when they're really charging you, you shock them. Some of them you wear masks. Some of them you have to turn away when they're looking at you. Sometimes you have to look at them when they're looking at you. Sometimes you have to pick up pieces of them that fall off. But with Golden Freddy, during his encounter, he would mimic one of 5 other animatronics, and you would have to adapt and fend him off until he was ready to be zapped. He could play as Freddy, Toy Freddy, Mangle, Ballora, or Springtrap, and on a bad run you'd get Mangle, Ballora, and Springtrap, and he would go on forever. In simplest terms, Mangle and Ballora are some of the animatronics where things drop off of them, and Springtrap is just extremely hard to deal with. He's very aggressive. Your tablet apparently looked like this. You had to recognize who you were up against fast. If you got lucky, you get someone recognizable and easy to switch to, but it was a long, tedious battle, and sometimes it would just crash on you. Needless to say, this and Golden Freddy's rarity meant it would be pretty difficult to snag a CPU and suit on this guy, which is a shame because at the very least his animations, with his limp and twitchy body, were really cool. And wouldn't you know it, but Golden Freddy got the distinct honor of becoming the last animatronic to get a skin before the game went on hiatus and was shut down. If you bought the Dark Circus expansion, you would get a single-player game mode where you would solve puzzles and fight 3 animatronics, Ringleader Foxy, Ballora, and then, as the final boss, Great Escape Golden Freddy. He is a brassy bear wrapped in a straitjacket and bound with chains, padlocks, boxes, and ball and chain leg irons. As expected, he's based off of an escape artist. His body has been worn down by water and scuffs, leaving him partially decayed and even missing large chunks of his exterior, such as half of his face. In his workshop animations, you can see him thrashing against his jacket before roaring. A very creepy roar, too. Can definitely feel the unbridled rage. Now, there was at least one net positive to the Dark Circus beyond the experience and ambiance, and that was that you would be guaranteed the animatronics in it, including Great Escape Golden Freddy, making him rare but still relatively easy to acquire, but also meaning that he was locked behind a paywall. To get a chance at many of the animatronics, you would have to fork out cash, but there was always still a chance that you could get one on your own, especially if you saved up a ridiculous amount of coins. So you probably wouldn't get an animatronic, but you could. The Great Escape skin was limited to the Dark Circus expansion, which meant you had to pay $20 to get him. Not as expensive as some of the other suits like Plush Trap or TOYSHK, but one that you absolutely had to pay for. And I'm not saying Great Escape Golden Freddy wasn't cool. He was extremely cool. He just had the unfortunate fate of coming out last and not spreading around so easily. Fitting, though, that like an Ultimate Custom Night, it ends with Golden Freddy bound up in a dark void, trapped for the unforeseen future. Golden Freddy and Fredbear's next appearance was Freddy in Space 2. In Freddy in Space 2, Freddy goes on a quest to stop Lol's hacks, free his friends, and rescue his son, all with an extremely tight deadline to do so. Fredbear is technically one of Freddy's friends, though instead of being captured, he chimes in to give Freddy some directions on the beginning of the level, sort of like his Foxy Fighter's role.
Come in, Faz Squad. This is Fredbear at Faz Command. Commander Foxy was overseeing the lunar mines, and now I'm afraid he's under the control of Lol's hacks. We are detecting some sort of mechanical monstrosity deep in the mine. Be careful. Be sure to check for rocks that you can blast out of your way and use your slide ability to get through tight spaces. I'll check back soon. Fredbear out.
And otherwise doesn't appear anywhere else. Unless he is Golden Freddy, in which case he's a secret unlockable character that you can only get after unlocking the puppet, which is either because of the connection between the two characters, or because the puppet is technically the last friend you unlock in the last level. While you can play the levels in any order, it's pretty difficult to beat Stellar Pit without leveling up your character at all. Either way, in the factory level, there is a block that only the puppet can break after the first boss. You break it and find nothing there. Then go back to the bosses, and what do you know, there's Golden Freddy slouched on the ground. Golden Freddy is both the best and worst character in the game. Fully leveled up, he is incredibly powerful, taking out most threats in one hit. But getting to that point involves a long process with what is the weakest weapon in the game. Basically having to chisel at so many enemies to get those precious points, or battling with weakening enemies with other characters and then whipping Golden Freddy out. At the very least, Golden Freddy is playable, so it's pretty neat. Golden Freddy himself doesn't appear in Security Breach, though there are old-timey posters of Fredbear. But this is where we run into Princess Quest, the Cassidy insert, and Old Man Consequences. So, to cover that, though I'm pretty sure I covered it mostly earlier, in Princess Quest, we see the story of the princess who unleashes the rabbit amalgam monster that is Glitchtrap, and then later she fights back against him and opens a door, the same door that sealed Glitchtrap inside of Vanessa, setting Glitchtrap free from Vanessa, but also setting Vanessa free from Glitchtrap. Later on, the princess appears later, briefly, in Help Wanted 2, when you physically enter Princess Quest and you hand over a Vanny mask to Old Man Consequences, and he gives you the Glitchtrap plush, and... Okay, here's an easier way of explaining this. Like I said earlier, this princess is the one who is named Cassidy in the files, and then that was changed. She is a golden character who's wandering around, accidentally unleashed Glitchtrap, and then freed Vanessa from him, by proxy, as it was Gregory and the technician from Help Wanted 2 controlling her the entire time, during which she runs into Old Man Consequences, or an old Red King who is named Old Man Consequences in the files. So basically, stand-ins for characters we remember. This might be a stand-in for Cassidy, but like I said earlier, the situation involving Cassidy's name being used in that game is a little strange, so I'm going to say right now, because it was removed from the files, if it was still in the files, I'd say that yes, this is definitely a Cassidy reference, but since it's been removed from the files, it's worth mentioning, but I don't think we should take it as anything concrete, unless, I guess, it gets back into the files. Anywho, continuing. In Help Wanted 2, the missing children incident is referenced with memory dolls that you must collect to get the best ending. These dolls are basically little potatoes with limbs that have the masks of animatronics they possess. Golden Freddy's can be found in one of the Fizzy Faz levels. I believe Fizzy Faz level 4 is the one I got it on and is the best one to get it on. But I don't actually know, because no matter what I did, I was not able to replicate it again. I don't know if I got locked out, maybe, because I've already completed this. But it didn't matter how many times I tried it on as many levels as I could, or if I was just doing something slightly wrong, I could not get it to happen again. Basically, you have to make the graveyard drink. And how you do that is by hitting the emergency lockdown button and then making a drink of protein, acid, caffeine, sugar, and a shot of the old Sodaroni can on the desk. Then you send it down the chute. Quickly now. Glitchtrap's hand will come up the drink deposit shaft and hand you the Golden Freddy doll. What Golden Freddy has to do with chugging drinks is unclear, but likely it's just a graveyard death reference. The doll can then be found on a table with a staff bot head and a Glamrock Bonnie plush beside it. And beside the first aid stations. A bunch of broken buddies over there. In Into the Pit, Golden Freddy briefly appears as a slumped suit in the back of Freddy's. Oswald has gone through the pit and is visiting the Freddys from yesteryear and makes two friends, who he begins to play hide-and-seek with. While looking for a hiding spot, he finds Golden Freddy in the back and hides inside of him. Then the lights go out, and chaos is unleashed, along with this monstrous Spring Bonnie-looking rabbit. It almost spots Oswald, but then moves on, and once it's gone, Oswald sneaks out of Golden Freddy and makes a run for it. Golden Freddy stays in that room for the rest of the game. There's also Fredbear posters, as seen in the same room. Secret of the Mimic reveals some of Fredbear Family's Diner's backstory, including Edwin Murray's work with the murderer and former owner, William Afton, and the harsh takeover of Edwin's business, and his business partner, Henry. And along with it, it reveals that he worked on some of the earliest versions of the Springlock suits, including building prototypes of Spring Bonnie and Fredbear for the upcoming establishment. These ones are clearly different from the ones that William and Henry used later on. These suits are strange. They're bulkier and look heavier, made entirely of metal instead of metal and fabric like, let's say, Spring Bonnie's suit. And we know they are also sensitive to water, but we do know that Edwin tried to make the suit safer at the bequest of his wife Fiona, trying to fix the issue that it had with getting wet. Whether he totally succeeded or not is unclear, because Henry sent in a work order saying he no longer wanted to use the Springlock suits, and thus these prototype suits were never used. But it is quite possible that Edwin Murray might have worked on some of the other Springlock suits. My best guess would be probably by upholstering them. At the very least, these suits seem a lot easier to get in and out of than the Spring Bonnie suit was. Just a pull of the bow tie and it would click open and allow you to step in. And considering that Arnold falls in one of the suits in an earlier section and survives without a Springlock failure, they probably were a lot sturdier. But alas, never got used. Funny enough, William Afton got a hold of the technology after MCM went under, and he still didn't choose to use it, and that led to his eventual Springlock failure. But moving on. Like I mentioned earlier, the White Tiger is considered very similar to Golden Freddy, but any known connections are unclear, so it's possible his existence is largely inspired by Golden Freddy more than him being him. And because of that, I'm just going to leave him there for now. And with us hitting the end of the line, it's time to move on to the books. In the Silver Eyes trilogy, Golden Freddy is possessed by Michael, a childhood friend of Charlie's, the main character, and her gang of friends. Michael liked to draw and seemed to be friendly, and was especially close with Carlton. One day he was taken by a man in a yellow Bonnie suit, something that John saw but was never able to tell anyone about, or when he did, wasn't believed due to there not being a yellow rabbit mascot. Michael was never found, and by the events of the Silver Eyes, his friends gather back together as his parents are making a scholarship in his honor and having a ceremony for him, having never moved out of town. But Michael, too, never moved on, and he and the other animatronics are confined inside of Freddy's, which is now sealed inside of an unfinished mall. Charlie and her friends visit a few times and stir up the interest of security guard Dave, who is actually William Afton, leading to him sicking the animatronics on them and even capturing Carlton and sealing him in a damaged Springlock suit, or like a part of a suit. And while stuck in that suit, Carlton sees Golden Freddy and recognizes him as being Michael. Unlike the others, Michael seems to be more aware, and while he doesn't do anything then, later on when Afton is in his Spring Bonnie suit and the group is being surrounded by the animatronics ready to tear them to pieces, Golden Freddy appears and stops them, whispering telepathically. Charlie and her friends realize that all of the missing children are possessing the animatronics, and are no longer as afraid of them. Then Clay breaks in with a sledgehammer, and Carlton throws up, and then they start to leave. But William grabs Charlie from behind, but she sets off his suit, and he has a Springlock failure. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy drag him off while Golden Freddy disappears, finally giving them the closure about their friend Michael. But that's actually not all. In the book, the Fredbear suit itself is given a backstory, as it was Charlie's father Henry's Springlock suit, while Spring Bonnie was Will's. Charlie even recognizes Golden Freddy as being the same suit, so technically in the Silver Eyes, Golden Freddy and Fredbear are one and the same. Now I should bring up right now, this is a very important part about Fredbear, and there's a reason I haven't brought it up until now, and that is the fact that the Fredbear suit was exclusively worn by Henry and was likely also built by Henry. But the thing is, we actually aren't directly told this anywhere in the games except for having it alluded to us in Secret of the Mimic. So that's why I waited until now to bring it up, because it was tied with this book, and it was after this book that Henry was introduced into the games. In the Twisted Ones, Golden Freddy doesn't appear until the end of the book, and not truly as himself, but merely as a ghostly spirit. With Charlie in trouble, John goes to Clay's basement, where he's keeping the classic animatronics, and asks them for help. After which, they wake up and go body the titular Twisted Ones. What is suggested to be Golden Freddy's ghost leads John, Jessica, and Clay to Charlie after the animatronics leave the basement before they beat him up. Then he vanishes and the classic animatronics leave. Golden Freddy doesn't return, but Michael does in the fourth closet, where Carlton is able to see all of the ghost children after Afton shoots him up with liquid metal. Michael and the other kids are trying to put their drawings together as they're blowing around in the air, and Carlton helps them do so, but notices that Spring Bonnie, Afton, is there. He's been doing experiments on the molten remains of the original band, the ghost children still stuck inside and not believing Carlton when he tells them that he's bad until he edits the drawing to show them that he is. Upon which the ghost children take control of Funtime Freddy, Funtime Foxy, and the Amalgam and pull Afton into the furnace, burning them all together. Since Carlton is critically injured, Michael gives him the drawing and a piece of himself, helping him stay alive and telling him to give it back when he sees him next. In heaven, assumedly. Unless Carlton goes to hell. Then the ghost children seemingly move on to the afterlife while Carlton survives. It should be noted that the Silver Eyes Trilogy is the only version of Golden Freddy who is 100% confirmed to be possessed by Michael Brooks. And the character doesn't exist elsewhere, but this version of Golden Freddy does end up becoming very similar to the film version. But still on the books, Golden Freddy also appears in the book The New Kid. In The New Kid, Devin is a severely troubled teen who is on his way to becoming the next William Afton. I am not kidding. He's writing manifestos. He's killing small animals. This kid's got some issues. And he's got a lackey sidekick best friend named Mick. They also befriend, kind of, the new kid, Kelsey. But it's more of like a begrudging friendship, since Devin is clearly jealous of him. Though it's not until his crush shows an interest in Kelsey that Devin decides he's going to get revenge. He takes his friends to an abandoned Freddy's and shows them Golden Freddy hidden in the back. Devin dares Kelsey to put it on, which he does, and ends up setting off the suit and being crushed in a springlock failure, which Devin was actually planning on since he had hurt himself with the suit when he first found it. He says he was just planning to trap him, but nah, this guy's out for blood. With Kelsey presumed dead, the teens leave and don't spill the beans. But after a few days, they start wondering if Kelsey's still alive. So Devin goes back to check, but when he reaches in the suit, he gets his arm chomped and is pulled inside, during which he spots curly black hair, being Andrew's trademark. Kelsey somehow appears alive and well back at school and starts hanging out with other kids, suggesting that he's looking for a new target. So it seems that Golden Freddy is one of the many items possessed by Andrew's agony. Makes sense. Though it's also possibly Eleanor, as a lot of other things that were assumed to be Andrew turned out to be her. Even if it looks like him, because she can change what she looks like. But that isn't directly confirmed. Golden Freddy also appeared in the week before interactive novel, the one about phone guy, Ralph. However, I have not read the entire thing, so I'm only going to give a pretty light description of the scenes with Golden Freddy in them because I have not read them. Golden Freddy is one of the threats in the week before, but only has a few scattered but key appearances. In one ending, he is the suit Ralph is shoved into. And in another, Ralph dials the number 1983 into the phone and hears a crying child, followed by hearing the actual bite happening as depicted in Fnaf 4, or for the most part. After hanging up, he hears more crying, turns his head, and gets bitten by what was probably Golden Freddy Fredbear. It's not named if it was, but it was more than likely him. He also appears in the Night 6 True ending, where he gets inside of Ralph's head with his "It's me" and screaming, along with a woman saying, "She's safe now," assumedly meaning his daughter. Content, Ralph lets go and assumedly dies. Wait, what woman? Not his wife, he'd recognize her voice. There's speculation it's the reporter he knows in the book, but wouldn't he recognize her voice? Well, great. Looks like we have another person for the Inside Golden Freddy Club. How tough are ya? But with that, I think we got to the end of the books, God willing. Now on to the films. Starting with Fnaf 1. Golden Freddy is again one of the possessed animatronics being haunted by one of the 5 missing children who were taken and killed by Afton. Mike sees them in his dreams as he works the night shift at Freddy's, with the boy possessing Golden Freddy being unnamed but recognizable by his blonde hair and brown shirt, as opposed to Freddy's brown hair and blonde shirt. Golden Freddy himself doesn't appear until much later in the film, but after the others befriend Abby, Mike's little sister, he tries to barter with Mike to keep her and in return says that they'll help him see his family, which basically means they're gonna kill him. He refuses, and they try to kill him anyway. Then Golden Freddy swings by Mike's house, beats up his aunt but doesn't kill her apparently, grabs Abby, gets in a cab, heads over to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, grabs a nice cup of cola, and waits for all this to blow over. Well, not exactly. Abby ends up drawing a picture to convince the animatronics that William Afton, who is wearing his spring Bonnie costume to fool them, is actually their murderer, like in the fourth closet. They attack him, and the cupcake sets off his suit, and they drag him away. Mike and Abby survive, and considering Golden Freddy's demeanor in his brief instance in the second movie, it seems like after this incident, he had a change of heart, and all was well. Now on to the Fnaf 2 film. Golden Freddy doesn't appear until towards the end of the movie, and not truly as himself, but merely as a child spirit. With Abby in trouble, Mike goes to the old Freddy's where the classic animatronics were last seen and asks them for help, after which they wake up and go body the toy animatronics. The kid's soul-possessing Golden Freddy appears and informs Mike and the others that they can no longer hold on to their bodies, and now he will return, stronger than ever, implied to be William Afton. He then vanishes and the classic animatronics die. And if that sounds familiar, yes, that was kind of verbatim exactly what I wrote for the Twisted One segment. Now that is the entirety of Golden Freddy's appearances, I believe. I might be missing something super obscure or extremely obvious that I just happened to miss, but I think this is him front, back, and center. Will we see Golden Freddy again? Oh yes, absolutely. As long as the missing children incident continues to be a reoccurring plot point in FNAF, Golden Freddy will be there as the odd one out, the mysterious fifth, collecting identities while keeping his true name or names hidden in shadows. Will we get a concrete answer on who or which children are possessing the bear? Maybe, maybe not. As you can see, this bear's got quite a reputation, to the point where maybe any answer we do get wouldn't be entirely pleasing. This is where we come back to the Schrodinger's cat box comparison, shockingly enough. Once you get a concrete answer, someone is going to be a little disappointed, and while I personally would prefer, an answer to go along with it, in this case, in Golden Freddy's case, it might be that the mystery surrounding him is what keeps him so popular, and maybe it's best that we don't ever know the truth. Of all the things in FNAF that don't need answers, Golden Freddy definitely needs answers, but he could probably survive fine without them. I don't see it affecting his popularity at all. So what do I think of the Yellow Bear? I like Golden Freddy. Ever since the beginning, I thought he was pretty cool. Normally, I'm not exactly the biggest fan of characters who seem like recolors of other characters, but Golden Freddy always stood out as this unique entity, bringing a creepiness to FNAF 1. And even though in further appearances he wasn't nearly as creepy with repeated exposure, there was still something pretty cool about him. But I also have to acknowledge that he's a pretty big source of confusion when it comes to the lore. There's no doubt about that. Talking about Golden Freddy is a little like tiptoeing through a minefield, but it's clear that there's a reason why people care about him so much, and that's also the same reason why I can confidently say that he's not going anywhere anytime soon. And honestly, maybe that's for the best. Five Nights at Freddy's was born off of its mysteries and theorizing and complex story, and one of those pillars was and still is Golden Freddy, and he's standing pretty tall. When he's not slumped over in the office. Anyway, thank you for watching.